He's on the naughty step from PSG. He's not gone on the tour of Japan. Shaq! I need some help. I need medical.
Welcome back to the Saving Canada podcast. I'm your host, Bartholomew Crenshaw. With me, as always, is Jack Newsman. Jack, every once in a while, we got to play a video. People do keep asking, where are these videos of people collapsing on soccer fields and this and that? For us, we know they're all over the place. Have been all over the place for years. But that was Shaka Hislop, ESPN announcer, collapsing about 5 days ago in a Real Madrid game while he was reporting. He's apparently made a recovery, but these sorts of things people are having strokes, people have blood clots. Many people are now just having miscellaneous health issues that they never had before. Probably people in your circles are complaining about this, that, or the other, and may not know that it's vaccine related. But for the most part, the vaccine is related to all these strange incidents. And for those of you who are just sort of starting to follow the show, those of you who are new to the show, haven't seen the probably hours of videos that we've shown of people collapsing on sports fields. Usually it's actually athletes. These things are happening all the time, and you can do your own research and look for your own videos, mostly on Rumble and BitChute. They're not censored. But it is still happening. It's still happening all over the place. People need a reminder, right, Jack?
Absolutely. Well, and it's just people see it, and that's it's still waking people up, right? So it's impossible to hide. It's becoming that way.
Yeah, and there's tons of stuff coming out. Like in a recent episode of ours, we showed that the autopsy reports that Peter McCullough and his autopsy reports and everything show an absolute massive increase in things like heart attacks related to the vaccines. So that stuff's always going on. That's the intro. We got lots of interesting stuff. We are opening up here. So Robert F. Kennedy Jr. he puts out a tweet. Since the assassination of my father in 1968, candidates for president are provided Secret Service protection, but not me. Typical turnaround time for pro forma protection requests from presidential candidates is 14 days. After 88 days of no response, after several follow-ups, the Biden administration just denied our request. Secretary Mayorkas says, I have determined that Secret Service protection for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is not warranted at this time. Jack, knowing the history of the Kennedy family, who do you think would need Secret Service protection more than him?
And based on what he's been saying at this time, yeah like clearly right now.
Yeah, he's got big pharma after him.
You might not want the Secret Service, but
well, that's true too. That's just more people to poison your cookies, right?
But still, this does not look good on Biden.
Biden would just love for him to kick the bucket. He's a giant problem for Joe Biden. And I don't think Biden's going to have to care about much for very long. It looks like things are shaping up. Like you were talking about this, Jack, that the Democrats, they might be fixing to use that article, whatever, to get him out just for...
I think it's 51. I might be wrong about that. But I was listening to a lot of discussions on, perhaps the Democrats might try and get ahead of potential impeachments by just saying, oh, look, we're going to have to remove him because he's got dementia now. And here's the doctors that are saying he has, this is what he has. And therefore, we're going to remove him. Yeah. And then, that'll complicate trying to prosecute him or his family because, he can't remember anything. He's got dementia now. See? So that's what people are talking about. And everyone's kind of wondering what their play is because they're not in a good spot. So that seems kind of logical, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, especially there is a lot of cases where he might have to go to actual court. And if he has all of Congress basically say he's unfit mentally before he ever has to go to court, then that's in his back pocket. He can use that in his criminal defense, right? That's what you're saying?
Yeah, and it kind of looks good on the Democrats because, we recognize that he's kind of a problem and we're going to deal with him kind of. It's kind of a 2-for-1 kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so we got the article here, Gateway Pundit. Breaking. Biden administration refuses to provide Robert Kennedy Jr. with Secret Service protection despite his standing in race and family history. Oh, this is basically just a recap of the tweet. So, but yeah, we all know the information just came out recently that the CIA was behind the assassination of John F. Kennedy. to the surprise of nobody. I mean, this is what people have been saying for decades and decades. But the fact is, most of Robert Kennedy Jr.'s family has been taken out. Right? Robert Kennedy, his father was taken out, assassinated.
More families than I know that have been taken out by the CIA, it seems.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. There was a skiing accident in the family as well. So I think so. And so anyways, yes, weird things happening. We got more to talk about as far as weird things happening and Democrats a little bit later in the episode. But first, we're going to get to Canadian news. You guys love to see it. And we are going to hop over to someone that those of you who followed us during the Freedom Convoy might remember as the Heil Hitler nut. Unironically, she stated that honk honk stands for Heil Hitler. Like, actually said this.
And like implied that the people that were hashtagging honk honk, that's what they were intending with it.
So, anyway, here's the video for those of you who forget.
How much vitriol do we have to see of honk honk, which is an acronym for Hail Hitler, do we need to see by these protesters on social media?
Mm-hmm. Wild. Okay, so that person actually said that. That's Yara Sachs. She actually said that in the House of Commons of Canada, and expecting people to actually not laugh at it for being completely ridiculous.
Yeah, and we didn't forget it.
Well, look who has just been made our new Minister for Mental Health. Definitely the person that is not insane herself, Yara Sachs. And so this is just hilarious. I don't have to read the whole video. It's just to show you Justin Trudeau is going through a massive, well, he's just completed a massive shakeup of the cabinet. And this is the type of talent that you can expect in these roles, which is going to be about as comical and clownish as you can possibly imagine. Here's the article here from Reuters. Canada's Trudeau unveils major cabinet shuffle as poll numbers sag. Oh, what have we been saying on this show forever? We've been watching the poll numbers, right? And you know,
they're a little lower than sagging, I think.
Oh yeah, the bottom's totally fallen out. It's got junk in the trunk now. But yeah, we've been talking about how despite poll numbers, despite constantly losing support for the Liberal Party, despite Trudeau himself being the most hated prime minister in Canadian history, somehow the media and the social media, you know, the big tech and Google, they all keep managing to make it look like it's 50-50 all the time.
Yeah, like I know. They just can't stop.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, so, but when you've been following the polls like we have, we know where it started and we know where it's gone, and we've said this in previous episodes, but you have to know that the Conservatives have pulled way further ahead than the polls would even indicate, just knowing the starting points and knowing the trend. The Liberals are in way bigger trouble than whatever numbers we're going to see in mainstream media. Like, these polls still show Conservatives at 38% support. Oh, here we go. An Abacus data survey out on Wednesday showed the party opening up an unusually big lead, this is the Conservatives, on the Liberals, with 38% to 28% in public support, enough to ensure Trudeau's defeat if an election were held now. So, saying about the cabinet shuffle, bringing in fresh energy with new members and new challenges was important for our economic team in particular. Yeah, because the whole country's economy's in the trash, courtesy of Trudeau. And
except he kept Freeland.
Yeah, Freeland and who else? His possible girlfriend.
Possible girlfriend.
Yeah. Liberal leader Trudeau, who's been in power since 2015, brought 7 new people into cabinet, but kept heavy hitters, such as Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland, the person who can't put a sentence together properly or defend an actual point, or even answer a question. Every time we've ever seen her. Yeah, that's a heavy hitter somehow? I don't think so. Innovation Minister Francois-Philippe Champagne and Foreign Minister Melanie Joly in their portfolios. And we've seen Trudeau look pretty close with Melanie Joly in quite a few pictures and videos. So, starting people...
We have our suspicions.
Yes, as do many others, not only us, but who knows? We certainly know that Sophie Trudeau isn't in a lot of pictures with him in recent years. The Prime Minister changed or tweaked the job descriptions of about 3/4 of the positions compared to with his previous cabinet, with former Immigration Minister Sean Fraser taking over a newly formed Housing, Infrastructure and Communities Ministry. They're making new ministries and stuff.
I know, these sound all crazy.
Well, like, what was it? South Park 20 years ago made fun of us for having a minister for everything.
Right?
In Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, the movie. So, yeah, it is comical. But it's also sort of traditional for Soviet-style communism to have a minister for everything, right? And we know that Trudeau's dad was a card-carrying communist. Trudeau loves the communists. Most idolizes Xi Jinping's China for the basic dictatorship, as Trudeau called it.
As he stated on camera.
Yeah. Now, so some interesting things people like us will find very joyful is that Mark Mendocino and Omar Alghabra, two people that factored in heavily with, well, in Mark Mendocino's case, completely lying about the Freedom Convoy nonstop and getting called out on it. Like, his lies were all over CBC and everything like that. He's been a thorn in the side of this Liberal government because he's wrapped into everything. It's like every scandal, Mark Mendocino is somehow wrapped into it. And so, so in House of Commons, he's been caught lying over and over and over again. Big part of the Chinese police station fiasco, big part of the Chinese election interference fiasco, big part of the Trudeau Foundation fiasco. I mean, this guy's all over lying about all of it. And so seeing him getting shuffled out of cabinet, that seems like a good thing, right?
Well, yeah, just get him out of there. I mean, they could just be like trying to shuffle out people that got too much heat on them, but who knows? Good riddance.
Yeah, exactly. But a little less slime in the House of Commons, right? And then Omar Alghabra, I mean, he's the guy who basically pushed all the truckers into the revolt just by his handling of the entire trucking industry. Just he basically made them snap. And nothing has gone well for Justin Trudeau ever since, as we know, not to mention the rest of the world and the globalist plans. And so Omar Alghabra, you could almost thank for this global awakening that we're going through. As far as
he certainly gave the orders that launched that.
Yeah, exactly. Like he could have had some milder control mechanism just to keep the truckers happy enough not to revolt. But no, that was the time they were ratcheting down everybody who was unvaccinated, and they were about to go for it. They were about to go for the camps. They were about to go for the increased taxes if you're not vaccinated. They were going for everything, which meant Omar Alghabra was not going to bend at that point, and the truckers snapped and went to Ottawa, which is great for us now. And but good riddance to Omar Alghabra, another most hated cabinet member in Canada. Bye-bye. See you later.
Hope to see you in court in the future.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure we will. I mean, a lot of the people who got double or triple vaxxed under his rules for truckers will probably be able to hold him personally responsible. And in True North news, Bonikoski, Trudeau unclear about why former ministers got the boot. It was more of a total remake than a simple shuffle. In the rebranding of Cabinet Wednesday, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau promoted 7 rookie MPs to his front bench, gave the boot to 7 ministers, and then reassigned the majority of cabinet roles. While the Prime Minister denied that such a sizable shakeup was a signal that 2023 hadn't been going well, the occasion, as CTV put it, was certainly the federal political event of the summer, insofar as it will have ripple effects in the months to come. That, of course, was a plan from the beginning, to have a cabinet team in place to take on a sudden election. Most of these people are nobodies that he threw in there, actually.
Yeah.
Really? I mean, they're order followers, obviously. This is how these people work. People who aren't going to cause him trouble as he continues to try to just be a dictator. Trudeau said the shuffle came at a time when there are storm clouds all around the world that are having real impacts on Canadians, from the war in Ukraine to the rise of authoritarianism and foreign interference to the cost of living. All stuff that he is 100% part of causing.
Yep.
The war in Ukraine, he sent the Canadian troops over there to train the Nazis to fight against Russia. The Nazis being the Azov Battalion, right?
As reported in the Ottawa Citizen.
Yeah. The rise in authoritarianism completely caused by the World Economic Forum and globalists worldwide, to whom Trudeau is an absolute puppet. Foreign interference, I mean, this is the Trudeau Foundation right now.
Yep.
So And then the cost of living. The cost of living is completely caused by his extraordinary spending of Canadian dollars.
Well, yeah, and bringing in all these voting machines, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so basically, if you take this paragraph that I'm looking at right now, Trudeau said this shuffle came at a time when he caused all these problems.
He wasn't lying.
Just hilarious. No, he's not lying, actually. He just leaves his own name out of it as the cause. So that is hilarious. Now, somebody that we might see fall out of American politics pretty quick will cause a huge opening for MAGA Republicans to start taking control of the Republican National Committee, and that would be Mitch McConnell. We have a recent video coming out of him not looking very well. We know he's extraordinarily old, like all these people trying to take over the world, these old, corrupt politicians in the highest levels of the bribery schemes. So like Joe Biden, for example, being involved with Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX and everything. Mitch McConnell is top bribe guy. And I think on Patrick Bet-David's show, Valuetainment, somebody who worked up with high-up politicians called Mitch McConnell one of the top 5 most corrupt politicians in all of American politics. So Mitch McConnell actually having to step down for health reasons or whatever else might happen to him is a massive opening for the side of good. So check out what I'm talking about as far as Mitch McConnell's frailty.
Some cooperation and a string of...
So he's just freezing up and staring ahead right now. Nobody's interrupted him. Nobody said anything. And then he gets rescued here as he's completely frozen. Doesn't know what to say.
Okay, Mitch? Anything else you want to say, or should we just go back to your office? Do you want to say anything else to the press?
So the guy whispers in his ear, do you want to say anything else to the press or just go back to your office? And then he just sort of stumbles away and is taken away by his handlers, I guess.
I was going to say his handlers, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure who those people were, but, you know, men in black suits. It is a bizarre video. It doesn't make me think that Mitch McConnell is long for his job.
It's not looking like it's going great.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of people who might not be long for the job, had one actually have to retire his job early, sad to say. And that is Tafari Campbell, the Obama's chef. Tafari Campbell was known for his food and discretion. So this is the Obama's private chef, and was famous, well, not famous, but looking into all his Instagram, everything else, he never let on that he had been cooking for the presidents for the last, since 2006, was it? 2007 to 2016. He was cooking at the White House, and then after 2016, after the Obamas left, they took him in as their own personal chef. That's very interesting. So we have a image here, just to remind us, weird stuff goes on around the Obamas and the Clintons all the damn time. So I pulled up this, it's an article written by Mark Memmott in 2013. Hawaiian official who released Obama's birth certificate dies in crash. Loretta Fuddy, a Hawaiian health official who in 2011 was briefly in the national spotlight when she verified the authenticity of President Obama's birth certificate and authorized the release of information about it, died Wednesday in the crash of a small plane off the island of Molokai. Small plane crashes, and Obama's and Clinton's, they seem to have a lot of them, a coincidental amount. You know, you can't be exactly sure, 100%, but there's an awful lot of this stuff happening.
There's definitely a couple.
Yeah, so USA Today writes that the plane with a pilot and 8 passengers aboard went down Wednesday in the water off the Hawaiian island of Molokai. The Maui Fire Department said the others on board survived. So only this woman who had anything to do with Obama's birth certificate died in this plane crash.
The person who died, yeah, suspicious.
Yeah. So anyways, that's just a little taster for a couple of things that are about to happen here. So Tafari Campbell, who identified himself as just a personal chef and amateur golfer, never talked about the presidents he cooked for or whatever. Well, he first released a few Instagram clips and pictures or whatever showing him like taking swimming lessons. He wasn't a good swimmer in 2017. He even said he can't swim. And he'd been taking swimming lessons since. Then he was out paddleboarding. So Campbell's body was recovered Monday from Edgartown Great Pond near the Obama's home on Martha's Vineyard. He had gone paddleboarding the night before, and a fellow paddleboarder said he had gone into the water, appeared to briefly struggle to stay on the surface, and then submerged and did not resurface. According to a statement from the Massachusetts State Police, the Daily Mail quoted another statement from police saying that Campbell was not tethered to his paddleboard, that's odd, when he lost his balance and fell off, that another paddleboarder tried but failed to save him, and that there was no evidence that the death was suspicious. Well, it seems odd in a pond that a person who had specifically been taking swimming lessons, posting himself able to swim. I mean, I can swim in a pond.
Yeah. You need a paddleboard. You just hold on to it.
Yeah, you just hold on.
Or someone else is a paddleboarder. You just paddleboard over to them, theoretically, and they just hold on to your board.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't.
There's a lot of things around this that don't make sense.
Yeah, like the other paddleboarder swimming over to him but not getting to him in time. I mean, it seems almost like maybe they saw the other paddleboarder go towards him, and who knows? Maybe there was a struggle.
It'd be interesting to know how deep it was.
It would.
It was pretty shallow. You know, if it was like 10 feet, you could just go to the bottom, keep pushing up to the surface. You wouldn't. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. So
bring off the bottom. I don't know. Interesting.
Yeah, yeah. And if you fall into a pond off a paddleboard, like what you can't. Like they say, he was splashing and did not submerge and did not resurface. It just doesn't make sense. So, anyways, it's only because of the amount of weird things that happen in these stories that we can definitively say there's some kind of pattern here of people dying around these guys. So Tafari Campbell's drowning, this is reported in the New York Post. Tafari Campbell's drowning parallels tragic death of Clinton chef. So it's not even just two random staff. It's both chefs.
Yeah.
So people
This one's so bizarre.
Yeah. So what do chefs know about these people that they don't want getting out? I don't know. But the tragic drowning of former White House sous chef and the Obama family's personal chef, Tafari Campbell, over the weekend is sadly similar to the premature demise of another White House kitchen veteran. Campbell's death comes just 8 years after Walter Scheib, who served as White House executive chef from 1994 to 2005, was found partially submerged in a ravine in the New Mexico mountains. The 61-year-old Scheib was first reported missing by his girlfriend on June 14th, one day after he failed to return from a hike near Taos Ski Valley. Scheib died from drowning, an autopsy later revealed. So I was asking you, Jack, how many times have you been hiking and been like, whoa, I almost drowned there, I got to be more careful?
Never.
Never, ever on a hike have I been anywhere near drowning. Has there ever even been a situation where there was enough water to drown in?
No, I mean, certainly out of the millions of people, someone could fall into like an old mine shaft and drown or something, of course. But yeah, like that's just off the bat. It's like, interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. And sometimes these guys fail to immediately report things like shotgun blasts inside of people who mysteriously die around the Clintons. Here's another one. Shotgun discovered near body of former Clinton aide Mark Middleton. This is a story that many of you already know about because it was in the news not that long ago. But former Clinton aide Mark Middleton, who was known as the guy who allowed... he signed Jeffrey Epstein into the White House dozens of times. And it was always this guy. So anyway, he, quote, committed suicide hanging from a tree with shotgun blasts in his chest, multiple.
Yeah,
and then,
explain that one.
So here's the story. This is again in the New York Post. A shotgun was discovered near the body of the former Clinton aide with links to Jeffrey Epstein, who died by suicide last year. So that was what the official report was from the police. Died by suicide. Despite initial reports to the contrary, officials said this week. So the initial reports hid that there was a shotgun blast or a shotgun found on the scene. A new set of documents obtained by the Daily Mail states that a Stoeger 12-gauge Coach shotgun was 30 feet from the bottle of Mark Middleton when he was found dead on Heifer Ranch in Perryville, Arkansas on May 7th, 2022. 30 feet's a long distance. It's actually hard to hit something dead center target from 30 feet away with a shotgun. Like that's a good distance for a shotgun. So it's almost like somebody would have to shoot him from closer, and then the gun somehow makes it 30 feet away, which is hard to do if you're committing suicide with it, right?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So he was found dead on Heifer Ranch in Perryville, Arkansas, 2022, May 7th. Based on an initial report released yesterday, the outlet previously claimed there was no weapon at the scene. So I'm saying
they get that wrong?
Well, I'm saying this because what if somebody found in a ravine drowned was actually shot? I mean, we see that now here a precedent of them hiding gun involvement in a suicide, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Anyway,
I mean, we know they lie about everything. So exactly.
Yeah, it's a little bit of sleuthing, but the whole point is the strangeness of these people getting assassinated constantly, or possibly assassinated by Clintons and Obamas, right?
Well, and with everything going on with the Bidens too, like all that stuff will eventually lead back to the Obamas and the Clintons.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Who knows what's going on? But the pressure's on, right? So who knows if some of this is wet work, right?
Well, let's not forget the time
loose ends or whatever, right?
Let's not forget the time that Dick Cheney shot a guy in the face, and then that guy apologized to Dick Cheney for getting in the way of his gun. So even the Republicans, you know, the Bush government has some weird stuff going on in the woods.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which should surprise nobody because they're all the same kind of globalist network here. So next, wow, so we're following the same track here, guys. I know it takes it's taken up a bit of time, but the Gateway Pundit next reports, wow, story changes. Barack and Michelle Obama were on Martha's Vineyard when their private chef mysteriously drowned, by Colin Lindbarger. Some would call this an interesting coincidence, while others may suspect something more. It turns out that Barack and Michelle Obama were on Martha's Vineyard at the time their personal chef drowned under mysterious circumstances. Obama's office previously claimed that the former president and his wife were not present at the residence when Tafari drowned. Now they're altering the story to say they were indeed on the property. So again, it's not like proof of anything. But these stories keep changing around these mysterious deaths. Like, what's being reported in the news is constantly being changed. And you remember the Paul Pelosi hammer attack thing?
Oh, yeah. And it was initially most identical to the initial police report that was put out. And then it was all over the place from there.
Yeah.
It was muddled.
Yeah. So here you have initially the Obama's office saying they were not at home when Campbell drowned. So, yeah, and this guy's got pictures posted of him taking swimming lessons and stuff like that. So this guy's theoretically knows how to swim. Freestyle into a backstroke with arms. So, yeah, this guy, he's like showing that he can swim before he drowns. What in the heck is going on here? Weird stuff. So, I'll leave it to you guys. Draw your own conclusions right in the comments below. Do you think that the Obama's chef, well, the second chef we know of between the Clintons and Obamas, mysteriously dying is complete coincidence? Love to know.
Hey, he would have been in the White House during those emails when they ordered the hot dogs.
Yeah, that's true.
To the White House.
Yeah, the Obama emails with the hot dogs and everything.
Hot dogs and the hamburger, whatever the hell it was. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and they
emails.
Well, and that other the guy that was hanging with the shotgun blast to the chest was the guy that was letting Epstein in. I mean, the fact that all of this could be tied to Epstein, most certainly could be.
Epstein is tied to almost everybody.
Yeah.
It seems.
Yeah. Well, next we are going to go over to the United Nations. All of you guys have probably noticed that global warming is over and global boiling has begun. The world is going to boil. You're all going to instantly die. Officially from the UN. Check it out.
And for scientists, it is unequivocal. Humans are to blame. All this is entirely consistent with predictions and repeated warnings. The only surprise is the speed of the change. Climate change is here, it is terrifying, and it is just the beginning. The era of global warming has ended, the era of global boiling has arrived. The air is unbreathable, the heat is unbearable, and the level of fossil fuel profits and climate inaction is unacceptable. Leaders must lead.
Okay, so what a coincidence that, like, the year after COVID-19 was going to kill everybody on the planet, that, oh, now we're all going to boil in climate change. Like, it's a massive coincidence that after 3,000 years, never have we seen two back-to-back world-ending crises that are definitely going to kill us and aren't in any way exaggerated.
Yeah, and both were called by people, especially this one. Everyone was saying they're going to try and ramp up the climate thing, and they've been chugging along.
I'm trying to remember where we originally heard it, but I thought it was a Project Veritas interview or something of somebody on CNN saying that as soon as they're done with COVID-19, they have the climate change like already on deck. The climate emergency, that's what was going to be hyped by CNN. I just remember hearing that like early on when we were doing the show, like a year and a half ago or whatever. Like COVID-19 was still like in its heyday, and they were already talking about that climate change was going to be next. And here we are, right? So no surprise to any of us. Anybody who actually buys into this bullshit, especially when we know many provinces, they're investigating arsons as the cause of all the starts of the fires. The Quebec, like, I don't know, 50 fires or whatever that all started at the exact same time is under constant scrutiny worldwide now. I mean, it's making the rounds on Rumble and BitChute, that's for sure. Like, people are wise to the fact that there's all this arson going on to start fires. And not to mention, they painted it on the walls of the Denver airport. Remember?
Yeah, exactly.
All the forests on fire with everybody running around screaming. That's been painted on the Denver airport for a decade.
Wasn't it called World Peace or something like that?
Yeah. So
something
anyway,
like that.
Yeah. If you guys look up the Denver airport photos, or actually that was in our episode 100. If you guys want to check out what we're talking about. So anyhow, yes, the climate change boiling, the climate boiling now. That was called a year and a half ago. Everybody knew it was gonna. Well, people who've been watching knew it was going to happen. And here's the BBC trying to make climate change into the new COVID-19. Check it out.
The hottest day of the year so far. There's a warning from Wales's top doctor that climate change could be more devastating than COVID for some communities unless we take immediate action. Dr. Sir Frank Atherton says rising temperatures are likely to pose a serious health risk to the nation, as Ben Price reports.
Several factors can lead to a grassland fire, but hot, dry weather plays a significant part. The fire service says a warmer climate can cause them to burn for longer. Last year, this grass fire on Machen Mountain near Caerphilly lasted almost a week. The flames were kept at bay, but for some local residents, the thick smoke was a concern for their health.
Some of the people I was talking, elder people, not the young, they were a bit concerned, they were a bit worried, like,
Concerned because of the smoke, because the effect it can have?
Some of the people maybe got asthma and the effect, like this next door got it. So, as I was there, I could breathe really badly, but I was okay, but I can smell it really thick.
A warmer climate can also mean heavier rainfall. Many communities across Wales have been devastated in recent years by a series of storms. Rising temperatures also worsens air pollution, and it's likely to influence the spread of tropical diseases. Wales's top doctor warns the impact of climate change on public health will affect communities disproportionately, with the poorest hit hardest.
So clearly, the most important defense is to not take these idiots seriously. I mean, who would think that worldwide, like in all of the Western world, that all these different countries, like, I mean, there's got to be dozens of different countries with unprecedented amounts of wildfires, forest fires, grass fires. Like, who's starting these fires, right? And it's like it didn't happen last year, but it's all happening exactly this year.
Well, here's the thing too: is no one cares about this climate stuff. Why? Because there's so many other problems that are really affecting people.
Yeah.
That was why this is bound to fail anyways out the gate, because they've created economic havoc all over the place.
Right.
People are struggling to get by financially. They're not worried about the environment at the moment.
No, and they won't be regardless. And now what the government is setting up, well, many governments, like the governments of the West, the governments that the globalists still have control over, they're setting this up just as an excuse to abuse the people again. Like, they ran out of excuses with COVID, but they still want to abuse the general public and make them poor. So now they need some basic excuse. Like, oh, if we don't make you poor right now, then you, the evil carbon consumer, which is fucking nuts because we're made of carbon. But the evil carbon consumer, you are going to murder grandma. They're going to do it again, man. They're going to do it again. They're going to say old people are dying because you use carbon. And they're going to try that appeal. I can tell. And it's all just to ratchet up more control mechanisms. I think we're
seeing the narrative change, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're seeing it kind of progress now. We just showed a few examples.
Yeah.
Where they're like directly relating it to COVID. They've changed it from global warming to global boiling. Yeah. So, I mean, it's a joke.
Yeah.
So we'll see where they go with this.
Yeah. Yeah. So their point is that the difference between last year to this year, just like that, like by the snap of your fingers, now it's an inalienable crisis. We've run out of time. It's over. So bye democracy, I guess, is going to be their point.
Yeah.
And one of the things we've said on the show many, many, many times is you can see their general strategies if you know anything about World War II. Because these guys really haven't changed their general strategies. And that's why most of the stuff that they've tried has flopped, like their monkeypox and everything else. Is because they don't actually have other ideas. They don't have other plans because they posted all their plans. Like, you can read the Agenda 2030. You can read everything that Klaus Schwab wants for the World Economic Forum's plans. You can just read all these things. So everything, whatever their pretense is, whether it's COVID or global warming, the pretense is going to lead to the same things you have to do. Right?
Yeah.
You have to lock down. You have to stop eating meat. You have to start eating bugs. You are not allowed to leave your zone. You have to use digital currency. All these things, they just switch the pretense and then change it to a new crisis for all of the same things they want to deliver for Agenda 2030. The United Nations has already said they're trying to help the World Economic Forum to fast track Agenda 30 to 2025. Like, we all know what's going on here. We all know the exact cookie cutter plan. And just to show you, here is now the nurses doing TikTok dances for climate change, because once again, they don't have new ideas. They're just going to keep rewrapping the same old program.
Yeah.
The Westerners prioritize the biggest risk. Fires, floods, and extreme heat, but more than just a dancing peach. So come on, new fossil fuels, stay bloody with renewables. Come on, kids, pay the price, ignoring scientists' advice. It should be done to stop the planet, so we stay alive, stay alive. Cut down carbon to stop the planet, so we stay alive, stay alive.
All right, for those of you just listening, there are now people lying down, pretending to be dead, and they're starting to cover them with sheets. Malnutrition, food shortage, like, this is what they're saying these people are dying of. Hemorrhage from assault. These are all the people that you are going to kill if you don't completely stop oil and gas production.
If you don't let us take these cows and kill them.
Yeah. But even then, they say these people are dying of malnutrition, while at the same time they're saying you need to stop all oil and gas production. You need to take all the farms away from the people in the Netherlands.
Yeah, John Kerry's calling for stop farming.
Yeah, kill 200,000 cattle in Ireland. And then at the same time, these idiot nurses who have what to do with oil and gas, by the way? Like, this is insane. So now nurses are climate change advocates. This is what I'm telling you. This is just an army of brainwashed people that they have.
Yeah. What's so obvious, it's becoming so apparent.
Yeah.
To anything like this, right? Everyone's seeing this kind of stuff. I'm curious, is like, what the hell's going on here? Like,
yeah. But I think it's going to be a way harder sell, though. I think a lot of people are going to start seeing how ridiculous these people look, right?
Yeah.
So,
and how much of an agenda it is, right? And it's just one of many that are all running in parallel with each other, and people are seeing it all.
Yeah, yeah. So next we're jumping over to a bit of Ukraine news. For those of you who've been following us for a long time, we haven't done a whole lot of Russia-Ukraine news because Russia's just stomping everybody in Ukraine at this point. Ukraine sends some tanks to the front lines. They get blasted. Ukraine sends tens of thousands of soldiers to the front lines. They get blasted. And Russia is now taking land basically however they want. They're pushing in 5, 6, 7 kilometers at a time. Russia's basically already sort of defeated the Ukrainian military. So that's why we don't do a lot of Russia-Ukraine updates. Like, Russia is going to be the inevitable victor here, as we've been saying the whole time since February last year. The Gateway Pundit reports Russia, 15 Leopards, 20 Bradleys destroyed in 24 hours. Large number of Western mercenaries eliminated. And so Russia has destroyed 15 Leopard 2 tanks and 20 Bradley fighting vehicles in 24 hours, Russian President Vladimir Putin claimed. Russia also claims to have eliminated a large number of Western PMCs fighting in Ukraine. So you have to keep in mind that Russia's actually posting all the videos, satellite, and photo evidence of all these things that they're claiming. So in general, you can check the GPS and confirm. So that's why journalists are confirming that these losses are usually correct. So speaking to President Vladimir Putin in St. Petersburg, Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko claimed that Moscow's forces had taken out at least 15 German-made Leopard tanks and over 20 Bradley fighting vehicles. Putin claimed, "We have never destroyed so much in one day," noting that Ukrainian units were fully equipped with foreign hardware. Putin also claimed that Russia had eliminated a number of Western mercenaries, blaming their stupidity. This is what is going on. So these Western mercenaries are just being driven towards the Russian fortifications and just made into mincemeat. So anyway, that's just a quick update of what's going on over there, is that the Russian air superiority is allowing them, whenever Ukrainians or the Western mercenaries try to drive tanks towards the Russian lines, they're getting destroyed before they get there. 15 Leopards and 20 Bradleys, that's, if you calculate that into money, it's a lot. And that's a one-day loss. So there goes our billions, right? And
some of it.
And Michael Flynn has another update. This is, again, something that I selected more for our newer listeners who haven't had a chance to hear about how corrupt of a country Ukraine is. And it is horrifyingly corrupt, for those of you who don't know, packed with human trafficking by design and all kinds of other things. Like 15-year-old boys and stuff getting pressed into the military. It's almost like they're killing every man in Ukraine so that they have access to all the women. That's what I'm starting to wonder, especially with putting Balenciaga, the satanic company that's already advertised that they human traffic, basically, in charge of the transplanted women and children.
Yeah, displaced. Yeah. Women and children.
Here's General Michael Flynn, and he is reminding us of all the corruption in Ukraine that started decades before this war.
Seeing in Ukraine is we're seeing a country that is, and everybody knows this now, there's no more hiding this. So why is Ukraine so important? Well, it's a hub for human trafficking. It's a hub specifically for child trafficking. It's a hub for narcotics trafficking. It's a hub for weapons trafficking. We know about our biolabs because Victoria Nuland said we had them there. I mean, we've always known that, but that's stated now publicly. And there's a lot of money just flowing into this country. And you say to yourself, where is this money going? And
is it money laundering? Is it money laundering?
Money you name it. just this week, and it may not have come up on your screen, but I know you pay attention a lot. I mean, there's a couple of people. I think one of them is like somebody in the Ministry of Defense there, and it might be the Minister of Defense or maybe somebody in his orbit. They're buying these gigantic homes for, millions and millions of dollars. And you say to yourself, how is this the case?
Yeah, so the billions that are getting sent over there obviously is getting stolen. But this is not new whatsoever. The Ukraine did this back during the collapse of the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
As it's some of the Soviet defectors and everything like that. But yeah, the fall of a communist regime usually just gets looted. And you could say that the communist regime that's falling and is getting looted is actually the West, because it's the West billions that are getting sent over there to be laundered. So we've discovered all the corruption, and we know that the criminals that are in charge of the government are going to get rooted out of the government. Like, we really, truly are going through something similar to the collapse of the Soviet Union right now in the West.
There's a strange parallels. I know. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. There's a lot of other stuff going on.
Definitely a lot of political upheaval, and
yeah.
There's definitely a big shift in progress.
Yeah.
A good one.
Yeah, there's certainly many, many things that are different, but there are a lot of similarities. And going towards more similarities, actually, this is an ad that was run in Germany, and it's called Heil Zelensky. And the ad itself is making a point that Germany is getting looted to support the Nazi Vladimir Zelensky. And we have plenty of shows where we identify exactly the connection Zelensky has to Nazism, but I mean, wearing the Iron Cross was, and the Wolf's Angel is certainly one of the signs. So I'm just going to run this ad that's playing, and I would suggest if you're just listening, maybe just take this opportunity to watch, because it's quite visual, and it's also subtitled. So check this out. Deutschland 2023.
Zynisch vorkommen, wenn ihm gesagt wird, soll...
Guten Tag.
Wir werden die Ukraine weiter unterstützen. Mit Geld, mit Humanität.
Heil Zelensky.
Hi, Zelensky.
Schneller.
Okay, so I'll pause it there. So the subtitle here is, your place is in NATO, deal with NATO at your place. So, which is, if you're with NATO, then watch your house get robbed. Watch your money go away. That's the point that they're trying to make here. And then just going forward a little bit. And here the subtitle is, since 2022, 22 billion has been given to Ukraine from Germany's budget. And so this, if you are just listening, this whole ad was German soldiers coming into a German person's house, basically robbing them of all their goods, like everything they own, and then telling them to Heil Zelensky before leaving with their money. Right? So that's the point these guys are making. And then moving forward a bit.
Leopards. Heil Zelensky.
So anyway, I just found it fascinating that somebody made this to run on German TV, because the people in Germany really do see through their globalist leadership, and they do not like Olaf Scholz.
Yeah.
And they've seen through the pipeline situation, the Nord Stream 2 pipeline bombing. Like, the actual general public of Germany, actually the real importance of this, like, check this out. We've been calling for, is Germany going to actually, like, the people of Germany going to turn against NATO, right? We've been talking about that, about a lot of countries. And this ad specifically is targeting NATO and what it means to be part of NATO. And we've been calling for that, for many, many episodes now. And so...
Well, yeah, once they knew, everyone knows that the Biden regime blew up the Nord Stream.
Yeah, that's right. And NATO is looting everybody's money to just support Zelensky in a losing war. And we just showed what happens to the Leopard tanks that Germany sent over there.
And again, those are the environmentalists. Let's not forget.
Oh, yeah. The environmentalists that are firing uranium rounds, right? And sending a whole bunch of cluster bombs over there. Yeah. All these people that are going to let kids run around and run over cluster bombs for the next 30, 40 years. These guys are not environmentalists. The World Economic Forum, the EU, NATO, United Nations, the general public is very much soured on all these. The United Nations used to have a good name worldwide, believe it or not, before everybody woke up to them being a lot of the puppet mastery behind what's going on in the world today. But now they're all wrapped up together. It's like one globalist organization, despite the fact it's 15 globalist organizations. It really is all one team, right? And so there is none of them left with a good name. If you're the World Health Organization, good luck. Nobody trusts them. Oh, but who says the World Economic, or who says you should trust the World Health Organization? The United Nations. Okay, we'll throw them in the trash too. You see where it's going?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, there's just no way for any of them to save face if they're attached to this globalist effort to take over the world. They are failing. They're failing massively. They're getting old. These old Nazis are getting taken down by patriots like you. So that is the Saving Canada podcast, episode 230 in the books. I'm Bartholomew Crenshaw signing off.
And I'm Jack Newsman. We'll see you.